In a world where businesses can struggle with cash flow, come under attack from admin, and lose track of payments, invoices, and performance, one business and accounting software solution can help you find it all. Enterprise, the invoicing, accounting, and business software that saves the day from admin. Get paid in a flash and take control of your day. Start using now for free for life. Visit enterprise.com.
Millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people.
You cannot shake hands with a clenched fist.
Produced by a nuclear exchange would be carried by wind and water and soil and seed to the far corners of
the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We're not saying that planet Earth is coming to an end. We're saying that planet Earth is about to be refurbished, spaded under, and have another chance to serve as a garden for another civilization.
Most of the people in here are just your reflections. They're your mistakes.
1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms.
1 million of the planet's 8 million species are threatened.
You are what you repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence ought to be a habit, not an act.
Your lives and the credibility of the United Nations is at stake.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
The reason this is such an interesting time is not only because we're on the threshold of the end of this civilization.
They're trying to take you out with bullshit.
The experience of the past 2 years has proven beyond doubt that no nation can appease the Nazis.
To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish.
In the language of the U.S. Department of Defense, these are unidentified aerial phenomena.
Roswell's a very interesting place with a lot of people that would like to know what's going on.
There is very compelling evidence that we may not be alone.
This is the Garden of Doom.
Welcome everyone to episode 33, I believe, maybe it's 34. This is a bonus edition of Garden of Doom, and we've been doing 2 weeks this week and last, and possibly going into the future, because we have a very special relationship with the speakers of the NACON conference, which we'll certainly get into a little bit more. I do want to do one correction from last week's show notes. We were correct in the show itself, but in the show notes, when I typed the convention's email address for registration, I typed instinctively COM, C-O-M, and it's CO, C-O. So everything else was correct in that show note address. Also, the show that came afterwards, I corrected it in those show notes, and in these show notes, it will hopefully be correct again, but we'll go through the registration information later on. But my guest today is the Reverend Father Alan Cox. He is the writer of the book, The Life of a Psychic Broadcaster. He joins us from Britain. He is a psychic. He is a psychic healer. He's involved in psychic exorcisms and is very knowledgeable in healing and spiritual healing and crystals and all sorts of things. He's a reverend of the Valentinian Gnostic Church, so we're going to ask about that. But without further ado, Alan, thank you for joining us, and how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine, thank you, Jeff. Thank you for inviting me, actually. It's a pleasure to actually meet you, and I'm looking forward to talking to you for a little while this evening.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction. That's excellent, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to introduce yourself any better. And if you hear a ding, it's just me adjusting the speakers on my end, just as I try to get the sound lines to equal out.
Yeah. Well, shall I give you a bit of background?
Please.
about myself. All this happened to me in '96, at the age of 46. I'll give my age away. Right. It's very strange, and obviously it was mental. I got into the spiritual, psychic part of life, where we used to live, and my partner, she was in the house by herself, and she was actually pushed down the stairs, nobody there, and she broke her wrist. And it was before over here they had mobile phones and that, so she was basically sitting at the bottom of the stairs, nursing the broken wrist with a bag of peas. She said she never felt any pain. Well, when I came home about 7 o'clock in the evening, rushed her up to the hospital and got her all sorted out. And there was a program on the TV about people who go into people's houses and clear bad energies. Anyway, the one guy on there, I got in touch with the TV channel. Long story short, he came to our house, did a clearing, and then he invited us up to where he lived, and he opened me up to my spiritual path, basically. I do this account in my book, The Life of a Psychic Broadcaster, but that basically opened me up to an incredible world, I suppose, within our world. And my life changed completely, and Anne's life has changed completely. And from there, it's taken a long road, but how can I put it? You see life differently, but it's a connection that, in a sense, we've all got capabilities of knowing and understanding. It's whether we open ourselves up to that. But I found that I had to stop doing the work I was doing, and eventually, 4 years on from there, basically give up my job to live my life the way that I live it now, which hasn't always been an easy way. But I think you have to follow your heart, and you have to follow what you believe and what is right for yourself. So that's how I am where I am now, and I've been very fortunate to meeting some incredible people along the line, and a lot of them have become friends. And the reason why I'm talking to you, as you quite rightly said, is that I'm involved with lots of ventures, but the one at the moment will be on the 24th of April, the Nephilim Conference, and there's a lot of brilliant speakers going to be on there on this Zoom event, who will be talking about all different aspects of spirituality. Mine tends to be helping people get themselves out of terrible situations with bad energies, and that is what kind of has grown. I get more and more people getting in touch with me who have terrible attachments, or things are going wrong in their life. So that's how my life has developed. It's very odd, So, but there's all different aspects to spirituality, isn't there, Jeff? It's there's some people who are very good at being mediums, clairvoyants, healers. It's got all different aspects to it, and I presume this is something that gives you an interest as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I have recently retaken to calling myself Mr. Curious, which is something I called myself when I was younger as well. So if I understand correctly, your second journey started when your wife got pushed down the stairs through, let's just say, mysterious circumstances, supernatural circumstances, and yes, through that, she convinced you that was the case, or you bore witness to it and knew that it was correct. And from there, you realized that there was something else going on in this world that couldn't be explained. And so how did you start the immersion from layperson who had an open mind or layperson who had a closed mind, that all of a sudden something, extraordinary happened? And how do you dive into this? How did you get from there to here?
At first, Jeff, absolutely at first. It was quite bizarre, really, because after I'd gone up to this guy Dave's house, and he helped me up to the spirit side of it, and he told me where my spirit guide was. Of course, I was all full of it, telling everybody, my friends and family, and one of my sister-in-law's friends, her brother, at the time he was about 19, 20, he was going through a really bad time, and he was having nightmares. Things were crashing around him. He was living at home with his parents, crashing around in the bedroom and what have you. So I just said, well, yeah, okay, I'll go and help. And the very first thing that I did, I went along and cleared the bad energies, the demons, out of this family's home. And I didn't even think about it. It was just, I just went and did it. And then about 3 or 4 days later, a lady who lived next door to my father-in-law, who sadly passed away now, she was having health issues. So I went round to her home next door and just basically put my hand on her arm, and the issues that she was having, that kind of went away, and I was in some kind of, I don't know, couldn't quite understand what on earth was going on, but it was happening. So I had no training. I never had any training. It just kind of just happened. So, I believe that I've been loaned, and I heard the word loaned, this wonderful gift by God, and it's for me to use it properly. And that's what I've always tried to do. But I've never been on a course. I haven't had any, so-called training. I mean, it just basically, that's it.
So the event that occurred with your wife, or partner rather, triggered almost like an instinct that led and it was almost intuitive. And while you were a little bit confused, it's almost like you sort of subconsciously knew what to do. And I guess the more times it got repeated, you started figuring out what was going on, and it went from intuitive to purposeful.
Yes, exactly. And then, of course, the next 4 years I was trying, working and trying to understand what was going on with me. And I remember saying to Anne the one day, I said, I really don't know much more. I can stand going to work all the time. And don't get me wrong, Jeff, we're not well-off people, not poor. So, we're not well-off, and wasn't well-off at the time. And she said, well, look, if you really feel like that, Alan, I can see how unhappy you are. Just if you feel it's right, then just pack your job in. And that's exactly what I did. And so then the journey started. I look back on it, and I don't know whether I was foolhardy or what, because we certainly struggled. But all the time I knew I'd done the right thing.
Well, that's great. Well, I know that you're a reverend, and you're a reverend of the Valentinian Gnostic Church. Were you with the Gnostic Church before this happened or after?
No, I wasn't, how can I put it, always believed in God, and never really belonged to any church as such. When I was growing up, my mum and dad left the Church of England and became Methodists, and I went to the Methodist Church. I got married in the Methodist Church. Anne and I both met each other after we'd both been divorced, we'd both been cheated on. We met each other after that. and we were both, funnily enough, married for 15 years, but we've been together for, it'll be 32 years in July. So we're just getting to know one another. And so, no, I didn't belong to a church or anything. And I got involved with, through doing my work, with people in show business and theatre and film, and made some incredible friends. One of my biggest friends who sadly passed away was Silas Yavner, who Hollywood film producer who did The Arrival and other well-known films, and his cousin Manny Fox, who passed away as well, Broadway producer, and my life went that direction. Then I met a theatre producer over here, David Parry, and he had become ordained in the Valentinian Gnostic Church. And I was down in London the one day, and we was in a coffee house to do with a play. And he said, "Will you be my priest?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, you're a Gnostic." And my reaction to him was, I said, "Well, what's a Gnostic?" He says, "You are." He says, "That's how you've been living. So what I know about you, and I can see the kind of person you are a Gnostic." I said, and I just said, "Yeah, okay." And he said, "Let me do a bit of explaining." He said, it doesn't matter to you whether the person's what colour, creed, anything, to you a person's a person. And you just try to help them the best way you can, and you try to live your life the best way that you can. So then basically that's been a Gnostic. So that's how I became a Reverend Father. So my journey into, shall we say, the religious side of life started in the most strangest way, Jeff. So we are doing our utmost to see the Gnostic Church is well established in America and in France, even though it originates in Italy. And there had been a Valentinian church in England for over 700 years, and we're actually trying to get it off the ground here, and we're slowly getting a lot of people starting to get interested in this way of life of just being trying to do the right thing and trying to help people. That sounds rather basic, but really that's what it is. It is basic.
Well, can I ask you to just give a brief primer on what is the Gnostic Church, and and what's the significance of it being Valentinian?
Well, Valentine, who lived hundreds and hundreds of years ago in Italy, was actually a Roman Catholic priest who believed in talking about spirit. He believed in being open and telling people exactly how he saw it. And at the time, those in charge in the Vatican were very opposed to what he was doing, and it would appear that his life, he was basically murdered. I do apologise.
That's okay.
And but his word had gone out there, and there was others who followed in his path, shall we say, but very secretively. So that is why in Italy, although the Valentine Church exists, it's very low key. But then it spread to France, to Sweden. One of the most famous people who followed that path was Swedenborg, and who put out the word hundreds of years ago. So Valentinianism is at a very kind of how can you put it? Not a very good start. So let me put it that way. But all it comes down to is just trying to be truthful and open. It's as simple as that. And I know what I've just said there. And there are going to be probably quite a few people out there who perhaps won't like me saying that about what happened within the Catholic Church at the time. But history, things happen, don't they?
Yeah, no, we're just looking for history here. We're not looking for, who's right, who's wrong, or anything like that. I mean, I generally know what Gnostic is, but the definition is pretty broad. So, I mean, my understanding of Gnostic was that you didn't necessarily need an organized church to believe in God. That's the most basic, understanding, and particularly with Christianity, to believe as Jesus as the Savior. So it's a little bit interesting to me, which I actually just stumbled upon this thought, to think that there's a Gnostic church, when my understanding, and again, just my understanding, which comes mostly from Dan Brown novels and whatever knowledge I've gained from other similar novels and learning since then, which is not rooted in theological school or anything, any deep study, is that you don't really need a church, which maybe explains why it's hard to get one off the ground for Gnostics. But I would imagine that it's there's some reason for it, or my understanding of what Gnostic means is overly simplistic.
No, I mean, what we do at the moment, we've got a church who are very sympathetic to what we're trying to achieve, and we get a couple of hours on a Sunday afternoon once a month, which we basically, make a donation to them to allow us to do that. But I mean, it isn't really about having a building as such. It's just having somewhere that you can gather together. It isn't about trying to raise thousands and thousands of pounds. It's nothing to do with that. If that happens, brilliant, but that isn't the goal of it. The goal is to just make people be aware of themselves, of what is right for them, and not to actually have to follow any doctrine of any kind, but try and live a good life. So.
Well, now I understand that the church is literally another church. It's just a meeting place that's made available for you for a reasonable rate. All right, I don't want to spend too much time on the religious stuff of it. I actually have someone in a few weeks who's going to come on, and we're going to go through some different sects and whatnot. And that's not what I had you on in the first place. I was just a curiosity. So tell us about. So I just want to read quickly some of the things that you list on your webpage, and then we'll sort of bullet point them and take them as they come, and maybe one flows into another. But you list psychic surgery, exorcism, near miraculous healings, and preternatural encounters with both good and evil entities that exist and are beyond the understanding of a common man, which that's the part where I now understand from my talk last week with Dave and Danny as to where that comes in within the Nephilim, because their description of the Nephilim was one that I had not heard before, but strangely enough, I heard a similar theory of the Nephilim as being the evil spirits of the I guess deceased demons, for lack of a better term, that are still here. It's almost like the impish or evil spirits from another source, a completely unrelated third party, just earlier today. So twice in once a week. Maybe I wasn't listening before. Anyway, so but also, so we'll try to take those one thing at a time. And so tell us, what is psychic surgery?
It is God's energy running through, from my own point of view, using me as a vessel. I'll give you one example. Going back some years ago, I was Anne and I were going into over here, quite a well-known magazine, and we had the photographer come along to our house this one Saturday afternoon and do a lot of pictures and what have you for us. And he said to me, he said, I'm going to, I'm following a young lady who has been told that she's only got a few months to live. She's got a terminal cancer in her liver, and it's spreading through her body. Anyway, about 2 weeks earlier to that, Anne and I stopped going around and doing, shall we say, readings and selling crystals in hotels and what have you. But a friend phoned me up and said, I've been let down by somebody to do readings. Do you think you could step in, Alan? Would you mind? I said, okay. And this is probably about 40 miles away from where we live. So we go along to this hotel bar place in a village, and this young lady comes in. And anyway, it becomes evident that she was very ill. And after we talked and what have you, she asked me whether I'd go to her home and give her healing. So a few days later, I agreed and went there. And this was in the November, and from all intents and purposes, what she was told at the end of August. So she wasn't looking well at all, and she got 2 young children. Was only in her 20s, and it looked like their prognosis was coming true. But what it was that she wanted to tell the world that you have to fight. So this photographer who works as a freelance was following her to all her hospital appointments, and it was being in this magazine put in every week about what was happening to her. Anyway, when I went along, I got my hand on her tummy, and she had said that she felt my hand was inside her and pulling and tugging and what have you. Anyway, I went again, and came with me, and went again about 3 or 4 days later, and the same thing happened. This was like the beginning of December. Anyway, the next thing I heard was that she was very poorly. She developed a very bad flu, almost turned into pneumonia, and she was ill all over the Christmas. And then she started to feel better, and she went to the hospital for a checkup, and they did all the checks and the scan and everything, and they just couldn't understand what had happened, because there was no trace of cancer in her body at all. Now, I'm not saying for 1 minute I did that. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is that God's energy that went through me obviously did something, and they just could not understand it. And she was just completely cured, if you want to use that expression. And the last I heard of her, she's back at work. She works in the NHS helping children and that, and she's getting on with her life. Now, that's psychic surgery, but I'm not taking the praise for that at all. I was just used as a vessel. But the medical profession, they were just dumbfounded. They just could not understand what had happened. So,
well, here in the States, obviously we have the the laying hands on healers, and mostly in the evangelical community, but also we see it in movies and period pieces and whatnot. But what you're describing is nothing really like that. It's much more simple.
Yes. Well, as I say, I'm not trying for 1 minute trying to say that it was anything to do with myself. I'm not. All I'm saying is that that happened, and then after she came through the flu and everything, she was cured. So that's it. It's call it a miracle. But that basically, that I've helped people with other problems and similar kind of thing that they thought my hand was inside them and it wasn't, and I can only say what they say to me. That's it. So that's psychic surgery.
So it's repeated. Are we talking about 5? Are we talking about dozens? Are we talking about scores?
I don't know. I don't keep count. I don't know. And it's different for everybody. It's not always the same. And it's odd that sometimes the effects aren't always such a good outcome as it was with that lady. So is it down to sometimes about it's a person's time that that they're ready to pass on. Sometimes I've given healing to somebody who's been I've been asked to go and help them at a hospital. It's happened a few times, and it's inevitable they're going to pass away, but they've been able to pass away without the pain. I haven't got all those answers yet. So I'm not like a machine and say, okay, you've got something wrong, you'll put my hand on you and you're better. No, I'm not like that at all. But I'm just trying to be as open and honest as I possibly can about, what can happen.
Have you noticed any difference if someone is, let's just say, sick from natural causes versus if somebody got sick maybe from smoking or alcoholism or drug addiction? Is there any difference in the ability to perform psychic surgery successfully, or is it just that there's no correlation?
There isn't any correlation, really. If somebody has smoked and they've given up smoking, and their mindset is they want to recover from what they've done to themselves, then that sometimes can work and that can help them. But you normally find somebody who's got a drug addiction, then that unfortunately that is self-inflicted, isn't it? And if the drugs is doing that much damage, so in my experience, then that doesn't really. It might help them feel a bit easier, but no. If you want to use, I don't using the word cured, but no, I've never cured anybody who's had a drug addiction or that type of thing, or an alcoholic. They've got to want to. They've got to want to help themselves, haven't they?
That's fair enough. Well, that's part of what I was wondering, if it had to do with their desire to, as opposed to looking for a no-catch miracle, if they were just looking for a good faith miracle. I hope those qualifying words make some sense to someone other than me. All right, let's talk about exorcism, because obviously exorcism, most of us know exorcisms from the movie The Exorcist and the show of the same name and similar veins. I'm sure before the movie The Exorcist, there were plenty of other pop culture and historical references to it. But explain the anatomy of how you got involved into exorcisms, and what do you do? Is it different than psychic surgery? Is it?
Yeah. Well, there again, people think I'm a bit unorthodox because I don't do anything theatrical. I don't go around people's homes or businesses or whatever you, chanting or anything. I've got my pendulum, my dowser, and my spirit guides. They use my energy, I use theirs, link in. What I tend to do is ask the person or people who have asked me to go and help them, for them to come round their home or business with me, and I put my hand out and I can feel like the negative energy, and I ask them to do the same, and then I link in with my dowser, and I kind of, it's really hard to explain to you. I then feel and kind of see these negative energies going up to the light and disappear, and then I ask the person to feel where those negative energies were, and then they put their hands there, and it's like, I say, it's gone. There's nothing. That feeling's gone, and we systematically go around the home, and it can take a couple of hours sometimes. And certainly, if you go into perhaps a room and it's really cold, and then do what I do, and then the room goes warmer, and the room can sometimes be if they got central heating on, and it's a cold day, and the room can be really cold. And so this is what it's like, and I would never feel comfortable in this room, and do the clearing, and then the room warms up as it should be. That's the type of thing that happens. I've done, small factories, I've done farms. A majority of if you want to use the word work that I do, is done from either through my website or most of it through word of mouth. Other people saying, well, you were helped so-and-so, and I've got that problem as well. So I've got lots of referrals, that type of thing. And Anne, my partner, she comes with me, and she's very good at picking up on negative energies as well, but she doesn't do the removing of them.
Gotcha. So you mentioned that you did farms and buildings. So I would say that would be called structural cleansings or space cleansings. Is that just a exorcism of an inanimate object versus animate?
Yeah, but I also take negative energies out of people as well.
I failed to ask probably the most important question here, or at least it occurs to me that I have, and that is, how do you decide who to pick? Now, with the people who are sick who want healing, that seems obvious. You know if somebody's sick. But if somebody says, something's wrong with me, I don't know what it is, I think that I'm possessed, I think I'm infested with negative energies, a demon, whatever, however they put it to you, however they phrase it, maybe doesn't matter. How do you know who is someone that would benefit from your services or not? How do you pick your, I'll call them patients or client, whatever term we want to use?
Well, let me put it this way, Jeff. Right? I don't believe that I choose who I help. Everybody comes to me for help. I'm willing to see if I can help them, but ultimately, I see it as God deciding who can be helped. I won't turn anybody away, but then sometimes that I won't pretend that everybody can be helped. So I will always see if I can, but I tend to be able to help more people than I don't help. And if I can't help them, I tell them that I can't help them. It isn't me picking and choosing. that would be rather unfair, wouldn't it?
Well, you told us the story about how you came upon the first person that you did the psychic surgery on, and that was almost like a favor to a friend or someone came to.
Yeah.
How did you transfer from that? How did you encounter your first exorcism? How did someone know to come to you, or how did you come upon your first exorcism and know I can do this too, or I should try to do this too?
Well, it's like I said when I first started, with the interview, that when I was opened up to it, trying to make sense of it and telling, friends and family, my sister-in-law had got a friend whose her brother was going through a terrible time. So we went along to his parents' house where, he was about 18, I think, at the time. And we're going back to 1996. And it just happened. I just did it. It was almost like, no, I've got to help. And it worked. It was simple as that. Got rid of the demonic energies. And the house was cleared, and he was cleared. I know you probably perhaps want a better explanation, but I can't give you an explanation I haven't got. That's exactly how it happened, Jim.
Well, I understand that once you have a success, then it's, word of that kind of thing gets around, and then once you've had a few successes, then you build a reputation, then people find you.
That's right.
Yeah. So it sounds like the origin of it was, almost sort of accidental, and maybe people.
Well, I actually see that. I don't see it as accidental. Looking back on it, I just feel it was meant. I feel it was meant that somebody dropped out, and my friend needed somebody else to go and do some readings, because the universal energy knew that young lady needed help. That's the way that I see that. And I feel that with Anne being pushed down the stairs with nobody in the house, I feel as much as it was awful what happened to her, in a strange way, that was meant, because she never had any pain from it, even though it's broken and it was all plastered up. Never once, even when it happened, she said she'd never had any pain. So I don't know. I mean, is it all just coincidences, or is it, using the word ordained, that it was meant to happen? I don't know.
Okay, that is fair. I do notice here that you use the word preternatural experiences instead of supernatural. Do you distinguish between supernatural and preternatural?
Well,
and if the answer is no, you just prefer the word, that's fine too. I don't really know.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I mean, it's fine if they're synonyms and you just like that one better. I mean, that's okay. I just wasn't sure if there was a subtle difference that I didn't know. Believe me, I love use of the non-usual language, even when usual language will do. So I just want to explore that briefly. So, can you tell us about some of the preternatural experiences? With both the good and the malevolent spirits, and like, how do you know? Do you get a sense inside? Do you feel cold? Do you feel warm? Do you feel pain? Do you feel joy? How do you? Well, you can tell it. I'm not even really sure what questions to ask.
Well, okay, a couple of instances, right? Right. Well, this one, if anybody wants to buy my book, The Life of a Psychic Broadcaster, you can get it on Amazon. This story is in the book about what happened. Anne and I were up at the top end, north end of Scotland, where all the mountains and everything. And we was near Inverness, and there's a moor there called Culloden Moor, and there was a big battle in 1746, between the English and the Scots, and hundreds and hundreds of people in the battle. The soldiers died there. Anyway, that time of year, in like June time in the summer, right at the top there, it's light until that part. It's light until well after midnight. In fact, it only kind of goes dusk. And anyway, it was probably about 9 o'clock in the evening, and we was driving back to where we were staying, and I see the signs for Cloddon Moor, and I said to her, I said, I need to go there. So we pull off the road and go there, and there was I remember there was a motorbike there, a camper van, and a car. And as we was walking onto the moor, it was like a visitor centre, but it was all closed. And the people who obviously belonged to these vehicles, they was literally all coming away at the same time. So I was left on the moor by ourselves. And they got like lecterns so you could read about the battle and everything. And there's a pathway for you to follow through, and the fields are kind of sectioned off, low fences, almost about the size of a football field. And we walked all the way around, and there's different lecterns telling about different things. And we get right over to the other side, and Anne was looking over to the left at these merino sheep, and I was looking over to where we'd walked from, and where the lectern that we'd been looking at. And I could see this on top of the lectern from the distance. It was like a brown and yellow circle, and it started to move side to side. And I said to Anne, I said, yeah, look at this, what's going on? And then it started to rise up, and it was like a tam shanty, you know, like a flat cap at the wall. And then this big guy moved over to the side in real, shall we say, I don't know what you want to call it, ancient traditional clothes, and he seemed really angry. And it's although you couldn't hear anything, he's stamping his feet, and he just got that sense. And at that point, I could see all these soldiers fighting. And what it was, when I was at that lectern, 81 soldiers came to me and wanted me to move them on, which I did. And he was really angry that I'd moved on these soldiers in spirit. Anyway, we left, nothing else happened, we left the place. The next day, we went right up to the very top of Scotland, Tiamagroats, which is almost the furthest north you can go. And on the way back down, just an ordinary two-way road up in the mountains, there's a very bad bend, and this juggernaut was coming the opposite way. And there was like a big drop at the side. And round the bend came this completely blacked out car heading straight at us. And I said to Anne, we've had it. I can't move over. We've had it. And it missed the front of the lorry and the front of our car. It must have been by inches. And we both were absolutely shaking. And there was nowhere to stop for a good mile. And as I pulled over and stopped, this soldier who had done that, he was there in front of me, and I got the feeling that he wanted to kill us. Simple as that. And that was one of the most dramatic things that has happened, you know. And then on a different one, told the other end.
Wait, we need to talk about that one a little bit more. Firstly, the 81 soldiers, were they all British, or were they or all Scot, or were they a combination of both?
I think that was mainly all the Scots, really. Yeah, I think that. I've never thought about that, to be truthful. But he was angry and he was Scots. So obviously the answer is that must have been Scots, wasn't they?
Well, I was wondering, because if he's angry, I mean, well, first of all, after being dead in battle, perpetual battle for a long time, maybe he just wants the battle and he doesn't care whose side they're on as long as there's someone to fight, sort of like a Valhalla kind of thing.
You might be right there, Jeff. I haven't got the answer to that one. Nobody's ever asked me that one before.
Well, it just seemed to me that he'd need to be like their drill sergeant or something, or the Lord who was very invested in the battle. This was after the Jacobite Revolution, wasn't it? Or
That's right. Yeah, oh yes, yeah. Indeed.
So this was just a plain old revolt.
Oh well, but the English and the Scots. Traditionally, we've had some terrible battles over the centuries. So yeah, that's it. That would make sense.
So the driver of the black car, was it this same? I'll just call him a sergeant. I don't know what he was, but it was the same sergeant who was angry that you would basically stop the battle.
I've no idea because all the windows was blacked out. I never saw who was driving it.
Oh, okay.
But after that incident had happened, his image came in front of me, and it's almost like I heard the words, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to get you, which thankfully never has. But right. That was a close one, Jeff. That was a close one.
Now you can't move him along; he has to want to move along.
That's right, exactly.
Okay, so exactly. But do you think that if you had not been gifted, or you didn't have, if you weren't the vessel of these energies, do you think that, let's just say it was me, which is silly because I never would have freed the 81 people in the first place, so there's no reason why he would have been angry at me. But let's just say I temporarily got the abilities, freed the 81 souls, he was mad at me, but then also I lost the abilities. Do you think that your abilities were able to counter his malevolence and keep him at bay, so he just stayed angry and wasn't able to execute you? Okay.
Yeah, that's why we didn't crash, because I could see 99 other times out of 100 there had been a fatal crash.
Yeah, sounds a little bit like in Endgame and the Infinity Wars, that Doctor Strange saw 14 million different versions, and it was only one where they won, something like that.
That's right, something like that.
So, some other things about you that are interesting, because I think that you participated in a TED Talk.
Pardon?
You participated in a TED Talk?
You've lost me. I do apologise.
Oh, I'm sorry. TED Talks. It says here. TED.
Oh, TED Talks. I'm sorry. TEDx.
Yes.
TEDx. Yeah. I was involved in the advertising, producing side of it, and I was supposed to have actually attended there, but I'd had a terrible accident and I'd been in hospital for a month, and I was recovering at home. But I did all the advertising for the event.
And that was at the. Are you a member of the Royal Society of Arts?
No, I'm not a member. No.
Okay, but it was there. I was just wondering if that's how you met some of the conference organizers, because they.
No, I've known them for a good many years. Okay. David and Dan, are good friends. I've known them a long time.
Okay, we're going to get to their stuff. We're going to get to the conference shortly, of course. You had a radio show, or you had radio shows for some time.
Well, at the moment, I'm in the process. The station that I was on, sadly, Dave Erickson, who run it, and he was in America. Through personal circumstances, he closed it down last year, end of July last year. But I'm in the process of actually creating my own radio station, and I'm hoping to be up and running approximately, in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, how long did you have the radio show up for? Or were you
11 years.
11 years, though. That's nothing to sneeze at. Being on the air for 11 years, and this was terrestrial radio, or was it like podcast radio?
Internet radio.
Internet radio.
It was called Paramania Radio, and Dave still left it up there, so if anybody wants to listen to any shows on there, it's paramaniaradio.com.
Oh, great. Yeah. Paramania Radio. So right. One word, Paramania Radio.com. Excellent.
Yeah. But as I say, he's left it up there, so if anybody is interested, and my shows, Understanding Spirit, Musical Memories, and my Sunday service show as well. They're all on there, and there's a link on my website actually, theworldtoheal.com. To all my podcasts, they're all on there as well.
Yeah, it's theworldtoheal.com. The World to Heal is one word .com, and just look for the one with Alan Cox, because there's a couple names that are fairly close. So if you just type World to Heal, you won't get there easily, but the World to Heal you will. And I mean, you're available for the psychic surgery and the exorcism of people and places and those services. You also, obviously, your book is for sale. You do the religious services as well on Sunday, though I imagine that's a sort of a separate thing. You also, looks like you sell certain crystals and jewelry. I imagine that the stones all have some type of healing or protective significance.
That's right, yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, we used to do a lot of crystals and that, kind of letting the stocks run down. We've got some beautiful crystals left, but it's strange how your life alters and you kind of go off in different directions. But yeah, if you're on the website, there's crystals on there that if anybody likes, they can buy. Of course, they can. You know.
Well, can you tell us the main types of crystals and what they do? What are their their properties?
Well, I mean, you've got citrine, which is for well-being and for wealth. Well, I say wealth, you know, for good and abundance. It's supposed to. Some people call it the money crystal. There's selenite. I don't know how they work this one out, but if you read about selenite, it says it can prolong life. I don't quite understand that one myself, but it's a beautiful kind of whitey, almost translucent crystal. It's a beautiful looking crystal, and then of course you've got amethyst and carnelian, which is has got a lot of good properties, especially on the female, energies. That's right. There's literally thousands of different crystals.
Well, what's the amethyst? What does amethyst do?
Well, amethyst is it can be a protector. It can help you to see things spiritually more clearly. It's a very good healing crystal, and most people think of the bluey purple amethyst, but there is a white amethyst as well, which some people think is even a stronger crystal. I suppose you could just go on about them, really. But there's just too many to mention, really, isn't it?
Gotcha. You said earlier that you had your dozer with you. Is it just a traditional dozer, or do you use any particular properties or materials for different for the exorcism fields?
I find that I get drawn to a particular crystal dozer, and it isn't always the same one, and sometimes I can have two or three different ones. I find that the amethyst works well for me. Also, Sorry, my mind's starting to wander. I do apologise. I have used the jade. I've also used the selenite. I've used that. I tend to see a crystal, a dowser, and think, yeah, I feel drawn to that. So there isn't just one particular type of crystal.
Okay. So again, that's intuitive. You just sort of get a feeling and you sort of know what tool you need.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
All right. Let's talk about the conference. So it's the NACON, which stands for Nephilim Archeology Conference.
That's right.
It's April 24th. It's virtual. My understanding is that there's 8 hours of content. There's a couple of breaks built in. I know that the prices, US is for all access, which I guess gives you hear all the lectures, is around $21 US. I'd forgotten what the pound or EU or euro translation is. And then the VIP level is a bit more. It's about $61 or $62 US, probably 75-ish, or no, it's probably less because the pound is stronger than the dollar, right? I think.
Yeah, I think from what I can gather, if you've got $100, that probably is somewhere in the region of about £70, I think, something like that.
Okay. So yeah, so I think it was probably like £50 for the VIP, and I think that it was 15 or there were decimal points. We cover for those who want the specifics. Obviously, you can go to their website, which we'll go to, or you can listen to last week's show where I had Reverend Parry on and Danielle. Dan and we talked about the prices then as well. But
yeah,
what is your topic? What are you speaking on?
Well, basically about what we've been talking about this evening, about negative energies. I say about how demonic energies can affect people's lives, and the fact that demons are creatures that have never walked the earth like we walk the earth, and it's almost like they're there to see how much pain and misery they can see us humans, how much we can put up with. I don't know why, but that's how it seems to be. And about the fact that some people think that these demonic energies are powerful, but the fact is they're cowards. And if they're confronted in the correct way, then they can be got rid of. But they try to frighten people into believing that they've got your soul or you can't escape from them. And so I suppose that is what my part of it is.
So basically, the nature of a demon. Can I ask you a question? What do you think, or what do you know is a demon? Like, what would you say is a demon? Are they fallen angels? Are they the spirits of the remnants of the dead corporeal body of the Nephilim, or their progeny, or well, you tell me.
Yeah, the Nephilim is just one aspect of a demonic energy. Dave Ashworth, who is the one who opened me up to all this, wrote a book years ago, and he gave me the book then. There's an actual photograph in there going back, I think, I'm not sure exactly how long, about 40 years ago or more, 50 years. An American lady was over in, I believe it was Israel, and went into this cave and saw a kind of a light or something, and took a photograph. And of course, it was in the days before instant, you get your phone, take a photo, there it is. When she got back to home in America, she sent the film off to be developed, and there was this creature. It was like it was transparent. It was probably about 3 foot high. It had gotten its legs were pointed the opposite way to ours, the same as its arms. The head was almost like a skeleton, but it got bright red eyes. There's a photograph of it in the book, and basically it's quite an horrible looking creature, really. Now I think that is just one type of demon, like the Nephilim being, so tall. Is another kind of demonic energy. It isn't just one. And then, of course, you've got entities, which Dave also got a picture of in there. And they're about the size of your little finger. And they've got like little prongs, 2 prongs coming out of them. And they can generate themselves through electricity. They can link onto you and help to draw your energy, making you tired but can't sleep properly. So there's all different aspects to bad energies. It might sound as if I'm kind of obsessed with them. I'm not at all. I'm just obsessed with helping people. I'm a very positive person.
No, I asked the question, so you're just answering. Don't worry.
So, my whole attitude is that all these negative energies, to me, have got no rights to affect our lives. So they need to be got rid of. But I always see things in a positive way, not in a negative way.
Well, let me ask you this. It's funny, the descriptions both of demons were, from a finger to 3 feet, which is probably much smaller than I would have pictured. It sounds more like sprites or imps or something like that. And maybe they're all elements of the same thing. But you said the Nephilim are only one element. Are there any other names besides Nephilim or demon that we would know from other cultures which could be called demons, these other elements? Just words. And if there aren't any, that's fine too. But like I know in Indian pantheons and in Babylonian, there's the Anunnaki. There are certain words and there's certain. Every culture has their legends and myths, but they're not all
right.
Demons. Are there any words that people might know that is just basically a different form of demon?
I can't think at the moment, to be honest with you, Jeff. I mean, as you say, different cultures have different names for the same kind of thing, don't they? I mean, really, if you think about it, a bad energy is a bad energy. The name in itself doesn't really mean anything, does it? They're only names that human beings have put to in their culture to describe what they see or what's going on or what they feel. So I'm sorry, I just can't think at the moment.
That's quite all right. Well, I found my page where I have the correct address for the conference. So it's NACON 21, NACON 21 .eventbrite, which is one word, EVENT, bright, BRITE .co.uk. So where I made the mistake originally, as I said, COM, like .com, just out of habit, but it's .co.uk. That is the correct web address to register. And it looks like it's about $20.39 US for all access, VIP, $62.51. So I suppose that could change with the currency shift. So thereabouts, and it's April 24th. Aside from the conference and your book, is there anything else that you want to talk about, that you want to plug? Any projects or ventures that are coming up?
Well, I mentioned at the beginning about being friends with people in the entertainment and the film and theatre business, and I'm in the process with a very good friend, Bill Mortimer, in America. Our mutual friend, Manny Fox, who passed away in 2012, he was a Broadway producer. I met him. There again, I won't say through accident at all, but I met him through somebody else, and we became really good friends. He put on Sophisticated Ladies about Duke Ellington in Broadway, and he brought it over to the West End there and did a tour over here with the show. Anyway, it's a long story, but anyway, he wanted to do another Broadway production on a different level about Duke Ellington again, and that's when I got to know him. And that's called Sacred, about how Duke Ellington found God through the love of women, right? But he was a bit of a lad, let's put it that way, and his story is quite amazing. Anyway, we've got some of the finance together, but we're still obviously trying to get the rest so we can put the it on. And it's an incredible story about Duke's life, and we've got his granddaughter Mercedes Ellington involved as well, because Manny was a good friend of Duke Ellington's. So we're after funding for that, but if anybody wants to know more about it, they can contact me through my website, theworldtoheal.com. The music is incredible, the story is incredible. We've got people who are interested in playing the parts in it who are very well known. But obviously, it's like everything, you've got to get it all together. I'm then also involved in a film that's in the process of being made. At the moment, it's got a working title of Indian English, and it's about the life of Julian Aslam, and her story is just quite incredible. And I do believe that when it is done, it'll become a blockbuster, because her life she's a really good friend of ours now, but her life in India was just quite unbelievable. Born to British parents, father was in the army in India, and when India got their independence, they gave the British soldiers, etc., a year to leave, else they'd lose everything. He refused to leave, and he lost everything. And that's where Jill's story began, with the terrible treatment that she had and everything. Well, she's a self-made millionairess now. Until the pandemic, she used to go around the world doing lectures and that, and she's met Bill Clinton and quite a few different presidents, and that's in America. She lives over here in the UK, and she's just quite an incredible person. She runs support and runs 6 food banks, 3 other charities to help the poor, because she lived in a very poor area of Calcutta, and she actively helps people there. She spends lots of money, of her own money, to help people in India who are really down and out, shall we say. And she's an incredible lady. So a film is being done about her life, and as she says, the majority of the process of that will go to helping people who've got nothing. So Yeah, so those are two projects that I'm involved with.
So if somebody wants to be an executive producer on a major motion picture or an executive producer on a Broadway production and see their name in a playbill, they go through your website, and I imagine that there are tiers or of sponsorship or donation or investment or whatever it is, and they'll, I guess, you've got papers on all that, all the legal documents they'll have to go through.
Yeah, well, I haven't got them personally, but Bill has, and that isn't a problem. And if anybody knows somebody who wants to invest, there's a 10% finder's fee as well. So, you know, if anybody out there listening wants to be involved, then, you know, they can contact me, and I can put them in touch with Bill, who's it is now his project. Just before Manny died, he passed it all over to Bill, and and Bill's a great guy. We're big friends.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I wish you luck with these ventures. Hopefully, this show getting out there maybe will lead to some of those investors, but more directly, book sales, clients, people registering for the conference, and spreading the good word and the good energies and casting out the bad ones at a even quicker pace. I thank you very much for your time, and I'll probably see you virtually on the 24th.
Yeah, and thank you, Jeff, for inviting me. And quite seriously, it's been a privilege and a pleasure to get to know you. Thank you, Jeff.
So you're not feeling negative spirits? No Nephilim here. Okay, good.
You're all right for today. Don't worry about it.
For today, that's all right. Today counts. Hear that, Mom? See if you're listening. All right. Thank you very much, Alan. Take care.
Yeah, and you, Jeff. Cheers. Bye-bye for now.
Cheers.
Bye.
So, folks, I don't normally say cheers, but when talking to someone from the UK, it seems only appropriate that I do so. So, there you have it. It sounds like you can become a Hollywood executive producer, which is a nice segue to plug this week's show, because this week is going to be our friend Mark Hammer from the Land of the Lost panel, and he actually is a Hollywood producer. So that's that. But if you want to be a Broadway producer, I don't think I know any, so hey, I'd be happy to know you. And about that 10% finder's fee, if you get it and become rich, you know, at least let me know so I can create a Patreon and you can be my Patreon, my one Patreon. That'd be great. I think that's it for this week. Hopefully the conference will continue to be happy with me and provide me with speakers so I can, guests, so I can provide you with these midweek shows until the conference and maybe into the future. Though to be frank, 2 shows a week is a bit much for me with my other schedule, and I do other things too. But after the conference, if they're still willing to supply me speakers and avenues to speakers, I will book them as regular guests on Sundays, and we'll go back to the sort of the variety and rotating. So, hope you enjoy this. Register for the conference, and I will see you all metaphysically on Sunday for the next edition with Mark. Take care now.
You can't see with your eyes. I got something you can't define. So let me tell you, cause this isn't something I just fantasize. Nightmares in the heads tonight, they can't help but recognize that we will be the ones who shine. I know this, yeah, I know this, yeah, I know. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I got voices in my head. I've been thinking lately, oh, visions of winning. Yeah, maybe I'm psychic. I don't care what they want me to be. What they say, it don't matter to me. I can hear you. I feel the leaves are paralyzed. fantasize, you know this, yeah, you know this, yeah, you know. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I got voices in my head. I've been thinking lately, oh, visions of winning, yeah, maybe I'm psychic. I told you I'm a fairy. If only you could see the things that I see. I'm coming at you, close me. Visions of winning, yeah, maybe I'm psychic. I'm a fairy. If only you could see the things that I see. I'm coming at you, close me. Visions of winning, yeah, maybe I'm psychic. One will fall and one will rise. Only one can take the prize, so you better run and hide. I know it's mine. Visions of winning, yeah, maybe I'm psychic. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I got voices in my head. I've been thinking lately, oh, visions of winning, yeah, maybe I'm psychic. I told you I'm a